We have the first team up of Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn in this episode, but does it stack up against the other Batman episodes? We're going to find out as we talk about Harley and Ivy right now. Hello friends, welcome back to the show, and if this is your first time tuning in, well then welcome just the same. I'm so glad to have you be part of this, because if you're like me and grew up on Batman the Animated Series and love watching Batman the Animated Series today and grew to be a huge Batman fan, then this is the show for you, where we talk about all things of Batman the Animated Series, and we talk about each and every episode on the 25th anniversary of their original air date. And today we're talking about Harley and Ivy, which originally aired on January 18th, 1993.
Ah, the wind in my hair and the Batman at my heels. It's the kind of night that makes you glad to be alive.
No matter where I position myself, I always find myself hunching over and leaning and getting more into the camera. So, to be fair, this is an okay episode, and I love the partnership between Harley and Ivy, but in so many regards, this episode doesn't really feel like a Batman episode. He's not in it a lot, and he's certainly not the focus of it, but we'll dig into all of that right after our 60-second Joker bomb rundown of the episode. The episode starts off with a car chase where Harley and Joker are being pursued by Batman. Harley Quinn gives Joker the wrong weapon, the gun, and they are almost captured, and they never do get the jewels, and Joker gets mad, and he threatens to, and does fire Harley Quinn. She goes off and says, I can do better on my own. She goes to steal a diamond from a museum, meets up with Poison Ivy, and they team up and start running on these escapades together, and Joker realizes that he needs her back and goes to get her back, and Batman finds where they're at, and they all culminates in one giant battle, and finally they are captured and all taken in, and Harley Quinn misses Joker still just the same no matter what abuse that he offers to her. What I tell you, not much in this episode. I can do it in 60 seconds is not a good sign for the episode.
Maybe not.
As I said, I really like the dynamics between Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy. And this is also the first time that Harley Quinn really takes the spotlight. She's always been just kind of a sub-character in a lot of the episodes, but this is the first one where she really takes the spotlight.
I miss him already.
And I think it's an interesting pairing putting her with Poison Ivy, but it works really well. And the dynamics between the characters are really pretty cool.
You're not immune to poison like I am. And you won't last 10 minutes here in Toxic Acres without my antidote.
Oh.
Harley Quinn is very childlike, and Poison Ivy is sort of motherly, and they complement each other really well, where Poison Ivy's more serious and Harley Quinn's more playful, and I think that was the focus of the episode. That was the reason this episode existed, and I just wish that there was more to it than that.
Oh, and what are you gonna do? Spank us?
That's right, pigs. And here's the paddle.
Whoa!
I think in a lot of ways this isn't really a Batman episode. It almost feels like, and I don't think that this was the intention, but it almost feels like they were setting up a spin-off. And we've all seen those shows where they take an episode of away from the regular cast and kind of follow these auxiliary characters just to test the water, see how it works, and then you see that show eventually take off and become a spin-off of its own. And that's what this episode feels like. Batman is not only not in it much, but he does very little towards the plot. In the beginning, he's foiled and crashes, and they get away, which is very unlike Batman.
Next time, clown.
And it's almost by accident that he finds the tire tracks of them, and he tests the soil, the dirt on the tracks.
Only clue I have is this soil analysis from their tire tracks.
And finds out that there's some toxic elements to it. And it must be that waste dump that we have, which would be a perfect place for Poison Ivy to be.
Then may I suggest an accessory this evening?
And he shows up there, and even that battle, like, he has very little to do with it. With the Joker being there, he starts firing a machine gun at Batman, and Batman warns him.
Stop shooting, you lunatic! We're sitting on a powder keg!
And he blows up, so he doesn't even really capture the Joker. He more saves him when the Joker gets knocked out. Ivy and Harley get away, and their tires shot out by Officer Montoya, and Montoya is the one that actually captures them.
Raise them.
Batman really doesn't do a lot, so that in itself I don't think is necessarily a problem. There's other episodes where Batman sort of takes a back seat to kind of the bigger story, but he plays a little bit more of a bigger role. But I think my greater problem with this episode is that whereas the dynamic between Harley and Ivy is great, there's no real caper that they're on. They kind of, again, accidentally meet up, decide to join forces, and then they just kind of run amok in town. I would have liked to see there be a greater Poison Ivy root. I would like to see a greater source of their of what they're trying to do. There's certainly an undertone in the episode that they're motivated by being a woman-paired group to show the men that they can do just as well without them.
Oh, but cheer up, kid. You just need some lessons in good old female self-esteem. In other words, let's play with the boys on our terms.
And so that comes up throughout the episode, and I think that that's a solid storyline, but it didn't directly relate to the Joker or the gang that Harley was breaking out of. I think that if there was a crown jewel that the Joker gang was going to get and they got wind of it and they got there first, or they were able to accomplish something that Joker couldn't, I think that would have made it a more fleshed out story. Otherwise, it was just, okay, let's team up, let's go run amok, let's go steal some jewels, and then they end up just getting captured because Joker's an idiot.
Whoops! Don't be me.
And another moment of this episode that's very out of type for Batman the Animated Series is one of the things that I've always enjoyed about the show is that they give the audience a lot of credit, even for being a kid's show, is that they allow the audience to think on their own and figure things out on their own, and they show clues and let you piece it together so you're active in the storytelling process, which I always enjoy in stories. This episode, there's a moment in this that really kind of bothers me that they went off type in that regard, is that they have Harley Quinn gets a plate of food and she's kind of messing around with it with all the vegetables and forms Joker's face. It's obviously Joker's face, but then they do this like superimpose his actual face onto the plate so that we connect the dots and go, oh, it's the Joker. She misses the Joker. We had it figured out, and she had already been talking about it, so it wasn't like it was out of nowhere that she starts thinking about the Joker.
Well, maybe I'd feel better if I knew he missed me too.
So when it comes time to rank this episode, I'm sure you've guessed already, it's not going to rank real high on my favorite list. Although the creators of the show, I listened to the commentary of the episode, they favorited this. This was a favorite episode of theirs, and a lot that they had to talk about was the animation and the pairing and those elements. But truly, the thing that I enjoy most about Batman the Animated Series is the stories. I love great stories, and this one was lacking in the story department. So I ended up placing at the 38th spot of my favorite episodes so far. It is falling below Appointment in Crime Alley, which, again, that was a kind of a simple plot that was a lot of random things happening and unjustified as Batman was trying to go get to this appointment to lay flowers at his parents' place that they were murdered. But at the same time, there was this overarching story. And so this one, I didn't feel like there was an overarching story, just simply a premise that wasn't fleshed out well enough in this episode.
This place is going to blinking blue blazes.
So I offered a few suggestions of what I think could have been done with this episode to kind of help the story out, but I'm curious to know what you think. So what are some ideas that you have that maybe could have helped this episode, if you agree with me that the story is weak, that is, that could have helped to strengthen the story and give a more overarching plot, and so it wasn't just a pairing of two great characters, gave them something more to do in this episode? Let me know in the comment section below.
Playtime's over.
If you enjoyed this episode, please click the like button. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe so that you can see all the episodes as they come out. Right now, the schedule for Batman the Animated Series is a little bit more sparse, so I've got some other videos that I'm working on that are going to pop up on the channel here and there. So be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of that additional content. As always, thank you so much for watching. I'm Andy Knode, and I'll see you soon.